Welcome back to That's DPI podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Zach. We are 2 weeks deep into the NFL. One of our teams is doing a little bit better than the others right now. But this week we are going to break down some controversial ref calls. We're going to talk about some fantasy football, how we did with fantasy football last week, what you can expect this week, and some must-watch games for this upcoming week 3. So make sure you are hitting that like, subscribe, and follow button to not miss a single second of any detailed, precise, or informed coverage of the NFL. Zach, this week we have a very rare officiating call that we want to break down. You want to explain that rule that was called?
Yeah, it's only been called 50 times in the last 15 years, so it's a quite rare penalty, and it's called leverage. And I'm going to play the video first just so that we can kind of get the context of what happened, and then I'll explain what leverage is, and then we can watch it one more time. So here,
and real quick, who are we watching for?
That's right. So some context for the game, because when we cover ref calls, we want to make sure that we're covering impactful ref calls. As Tyler said last week on the podcast, I don't really care about a holding penalty in the third quarter because it didn't impact the game. This is final seconds of the Broncos and Colts. The Colts are attempting a 60-yard game-winning field goal against the Denver Broncos. It would put them up by just one. I believe the score was 28-26 Broncos lead. So here's our video. It's slowed down a little bit, but I believe we're watching these two guys right here on the long snapper. And the kick is away. And he would end up missing this kick. This 60-yarder was no good. So the Broncos would have actually won this ball game. And so the call is leverage, defined in the NFL rulebook as a player jumping or standing on a teammate or opponent to block or attempt to block an opponent's kick. And here is the NFL penalties corroborating that. It's a 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. And here's a still image.
A stand or push on an opponent in this case, because we didn't see any teammate leverage. So we're looking for if this guy right in the center pushed down on the center. Is that what we're looking for?
Either on the center or a player next to the center, because I believe if you're kind of like leapfrogging on a blocker on a field goal, that would be constituting as leverage. Obviously, you called out if one of these Denver Broncos leapfrogged each other, that's also leverage. But like you said, it doesn't appear that that's the one we're looking for. We're looking for leverage on an opponent. So I'm going to play this at 0.75 speed one more time. Let's look for the leverage.
And I'm looking at maybe that one player that comes in at the end. Not these two guys, but there's a third player that comes onto the screen.
If you can see my mouse, I'm seeing this hand come down, right? On here. Is that leverage to jump? Is he pushing? Well, and then he releases the hand and jumps independently. That's my thing. Or are you saying this fellow here?
I'm saying that fellow. That's who I'm currently possibly looking at, because I do see a jump there.
Right. But I guess we can't properly see if he's jumping. It looks like he's not putting his hands on this guy. He just jumps on top of this guard here. And at that point, I don't think he's leveraging. He's just jumping on top of a guard, which is legal, right?
Okay, so it's legal to jump on top of as long as you're not pushing down to cause the jump.
Right, and as long as you're not making like excessive contact with the long snapper. 68 isn't the long snapper. So in my opinion, I don't think this is a proper use of the leveraging penalty. Although I'm not an NFL official, I kind of defer to you, Tyler. Do you think that leverage is properly used here?
So as we're looking at this in slow-mo, mind you, these refs are looking at it in real time. And as I'm looking at it in slow motion, I don't see anything here. Yeah, I don't see...
Here's it in fast motion.
Yeah, I don't see any really pushing down on anybody. I don't see anyone leapfrogging another player. I see a jump at the end, but I mean, based on the circle of the broadcast video, that's not even who they're looking at. Mm-hmm. So to me, I don't see where leverage is coming from.
Right.
I think the refs missed this.
It's a fascinating call because it's called so infrequently. Something you said before the broadcast is really sticking with me, Tyler. It looks like every other PAT and field goal that I've watched in this season, and that's the point.
There's going to be some hitting. There's going to be some jumping. I don't see any pulling at all or pushing down on. I don't see any of that.
The problem with this call, and the reason why we're highlighting it so early today, is because it directly changed the outcome of this game. The kick was no good. Time had expired. Look, time had expired. The Denver Broncos, credit to bad sports refs for this. Clips, by the way. Thank you for the clips on Twitter. But they directly changed the outcome. They moved it up 15 yards. Colts kick, win the game. So pretty important you get this one right. Yeah.
And you know me, Zach. I will look at the rule. I defend the NFL refs a lot. I break down a lot. I listen to what Gene Steratore has to say. I love listening to him explain kind of why some fishy, questionable calls are called the way they are based on the point of view of the officials. Right. I see nothing here.
Yeah, it's a curious call, and I think they got it wrong. And a lot of fans think they got it wrong too. But fans are fans. You guys watch us to get analysis, and we also think this was a missed call. This was blown here.
I agree with that. And yeah, it directly impacted the outcome of the game. This is not a leverage call in a 52-10 game. This is a game-winning field goal that was missed, that an inaccurate call set them up 15 yards closer, and they won the game as a result.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts basically got rewarded for lining up for a 60-yarder that they missed. It's unfortunate. But speaking of blown calls, Tyler, I want to move on to our next ref call of the week. We started this podcast with our keynote segment being breaking down bad ref calls of the week. And this one, I know that it's your Chiefs, Tyler, but it's the talk of Twitter. And it's the egregious missed calls on the Philadelphia Eagles tush push. I believe they ran it 7 times on Kansas City, and I think that they committed
7.
I believe so, and I believe they committed the same penalty on each rep. It was egregious on the broadcast.
Before we jump into this, because I know where Philly fans are going, oh yeah, the Chiefs fans are going to talk about the tush push. I have never been against the tush push for the fact that the Eagles are good at it. I've explained in our previous video that I'm okay with it getting banned because of a defensive rule that says that defensive players cannot push a player forward. So why can an offensive player push? Okay, I am not against the tush push. Because my team's not good at stopping it. That's not why I don't like the tush push. I actually kind of respect the tush push, but it needs to be officiated properly. Right. And that's what we're going to break down, because I don't think it's being officiated properly.
I also want to preface this discussion, Tyler, because I want to harken back to our video on the banning of the tush push when they brought that to a vote. We had a debate where Tyler and I actually disagreed. I defended the tush push, saying the Eagles run it better than everybody else, and as long as it's a legal play per the rule book, they should be allowed to run it. Well, it's gotten to the point where the Eagles are no longer running a fair NFL play. And
it's not because of the formation, by the way. It's not because of the formation in the sense that there's 2 players pushing on the quarterback. That's not my issue with the tush push. The NFL has spoken, and they said that's legal. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is do we have that image up? Can we see that image right there?
Let's go to the still image here
first. There we go. So, couple things to break down a legal formation. Has nothing to do with the players in the backfield, has nothing to do with the 2 tight ends or whatever behind Jalen Hurts. So, the neutral zone is the width of the ball. A player under the NFL rulebook is not allowed to be over the neutral zone, meaning the only thing that can be even over the ball is the center's hand, because he has to grab the ball. So the center's head has to be behind the ball, and then the rest of the offensive linemen have to be behind the center's head, but covering the center's belt. So in this overview shot, you cannot see the ball whatsoever. So in this case, the center is committing an offsides penalty. In this, maybe this isn't the best shot for the guards. Can we go back to that side angle? So on the side angle, we clearly see the center's head
Yeah.
well past the ball in the neutral zone.
And it
And
looks
then the
like the
neutral zone,
guards. Oh, go
the
ahead.
guards are, yes. So, and this is why I say that, like, yes, they're past the center's belt, and so they're good there. But when we look at the position of the ball, the neutral zone starts at the back tip of the ball, and almost all of the offensive linemen are past the back
Yeah.
tip of the ball.
I point to
So
this
to
helmet
me,
here.
yes. So right off the bat, we have an offsides on the center and a player lined up in the neutral zone on the offensive line. And what you're about to show is a clear false start. Go and play that video.
Yeah, this.
We don't
Oh,
see
sorry.
the. I was gonna say we don't see the ball snapped yet. We see the. You're gonna see that left guard
go
jump
way early.
well before the ball is even snapped.
Yeah, here's movement. I mean, there's movement here. This constitutes a false start. They keep moving. Ball still hasn't moved. And now the ball's moved. And I mean, it's in live speed, Tyler, it's pretty egregious.
Yeah,
These
can we watch that live speed? Because that's what the
There it is.
NFL refs don't have slow-mo. Yeah, and even then, you that's a false start. I don't have an issue with the tush push because the league has voted that it's a fair play. But can we officiate a play correctly? A
Yeah.
player lined up in the neutral zone and a player's center well over the ball. And Jason Kelsey even admitted that when the center goes up, they're trained and coached to pick the ball up and move it as far forward as they can. And then they're even moving forward again over on top of the ball. They're just gaining a half yard by the way they line up. That's my issue with this.
Not to mention the entire offensive line on pretty much every single rep on Sunday. For context, I think a lot of longtime viewers know that Tyler works at Arrowhead for home games for the Kansas City Chiefs.
But so I didn't see any broadcast view.
I have the privilege, or maybe Tyler has the privilege to be at Arrowhead every Sunday, but I have the privilege to watch the broadcast games and kind of give Tyler the scoop at the end when he gets home from the games. The broadcast was not kind to the Philadelphia Eagles. They showed the false starts pretty much every time. And this one, they were especially egregious. Tom Brady was breaking this one down. I'm not going to play the sound, but he was basically saying that the tush push is really hard to stop when it's ran legally, and the Philadelphia Eagles are committing a false start every single time they run it.
A false start, an offsides, a neutral zone infraction.
And so, in my opinion, this has to be cracked down upon by the NFL, because there was already controversy, right, Tyler? I think one or two votes away from this play being completely banned.
I think it was 2 votes, yeah.
And the reason it wasn't banned is because as long as it's legal, everybody else can do it, right? Well, when the Philadelphia Eagles are getting too comfortable and just jumping early, it is now an illegal play, and it needs to be officiated that way. It's infuriating as a fan. I am a fairly neutral party in this game. I live in Kansas City. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I just want to see the games be fun, you guys, especially when they don't involve my Lions. But this is borderline cheating by the Eagles. It's unfair, and they're doing it every time.
To credit your own bias, yes, you live in Kansas City and are surrounded by Chiefs fans, but as a Lions fan, the Eagles have never really done anything to the Lions. This is not the San Francisco 49ers. This is not the Washington Commanders. This is a team that beat up on the team that beat you guys. Like this is a team that you were rooting for in the NFC Championship last year.
Right. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to see this play officiated properly, because one of the reasons why, and I think one of the reasons, Tyler, you comment on the NFL, don't let me speak for you if it's not true, is I want the NFL to be as fair as it possibly can, because then the focus is on the players and how good the game is and how amazing our sport is. But when it's when we're constantly talking about refs, I don't want our sport to be that way. I don't want that to be the defining, because you're not going to attract new viewers that way if it's constantly a controversy. And it starts by cleaning up stuff like this.
I agree. And kind of to defend I mean, I'm wearing a Chiefs hat, like to defend my bias a little bit too, is last season in episode one of That's DPI podcast, I said Josh Allen got the first down in the AFC Championship game. I will look at this truly unbiased. And if the NFL owners say that the formation's fine to push a quarterback forward, okay, fine, it's a legal play, go for it. But when you are violating other rules such as offsides, neutral zone infraction, and false start, I start to question what we're doing here.
I agree, and it's frustrating as fans who are victimized by the illegal play, and as neutral fans who are just trying to watch an entertaining game. So, but I think we've set our pieces on that. We can move on to recapping both of our teams' games from this past week 2. Tyler, do you want to go ahead and start, or do you want me to start? We can start positive or negative here.
I'll go ahead and start, and I'm not going to talk any more about penalties because the Chiefs absolutely had their own problems and their own faults of their own. Travis Kelce looks horrible. The Patrick Mahomes' interception, Harrison Butker's missed field goal, going for it on fourth down in field goal range and not getting it are all contributors to why we lost the game, not the penalties, not the false starts, whatever. I think the Chiefs will be okay. I think last week I kind of said hit the panic button. This week, weirdly enough, I'm retracting that. I am worried about our secondaries, though. I don't like our safeties. I'm not going to pick on Trent McDuffie for giving up a long pass. It happens every now and then. I think Trent McDuffie has proved his point. But I'm worried about Mahomes overthrowing everybody. Zach, at training camp, and I said this last week too. At training camp, our concern was that Patrick Mahomes is overthrowing everybody except for Xavier Worthy. He had one good catch to Thornton this week, but he was overthrowing people. So the Chiefs have to clean up their mistakes. But even with those mistakes, we lost to the Chargers, who played a perfect game by 3 points, and we lost to, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL by 3 points. Once we get Xavier Rice, once we get Worthy back and Rice back, I think the Chiefs will be cooking well. But until then, we've got to clean up our mistakes. We have to stop shooting ourselves in the foot.
Additionally, your schedule gets considerably easier down the stretch. I mean, you're facing
Yes.
Philly, Detroit, a really hot Chargers team, all in the first 6 weeks of the season. So I do think that the Chiefs are
on top
far
of
from
Baltimore in 2 weeks too.
Yeah, Baltimore, and the Chiefs are far from contention. It's just going to be a more adversity-filled season than even Chiefs fans are used to.
Sure.
And I wanted to say something in response, because last week we said it was probably time to start panicking about the secondary, and I think they played a lot better. Aside from the Trent McDuffie mishap, Brian Cook has the second best PFF grade on the team. And of players who played more than 10 snaps, he has the best defensive grade on the team. That's impressive for me. And it's bolstered by a 76 coverage grade, which is third on the team, only behind Leo Chenal and rookie Noel Williams, a corner who only got 8 snaps, but deserves way more because he had a great pass breakup along the sideline. He got a 91 defensive grade and a 91 coverage grade, less than 10 snaps, so the sample size is small, but that's 2 secondary players topping the PFF grades for the Chiefs. One thing I wanted to cover is there were 21 players graded for the Kansas City Chiefs game. The bottom 7, Mike Dana, Derek Nottie, Charles Omenihu, Marlon Tuipulotu, and Jerry Tillery. That might be 6, actually.
Two names that are big names on there, being Mike Dana and Charles Omenihu.
And all of those guys, Tyler, had sub 50 defensive grades.
Ooh.
And that's the entire D-line, pretty much, outside of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. And we all know that those guys are really good. But
how did McDuffie do?
McDuffie was top 5 defensive grade, and he still received a 67 coverage grade. So outside of that play, which I don't even think they're dinging him for, he had an all right game.
I don't think so either.
But man, the defensive line was horrific. Derek Noddy and Jerry Tillery are the 2 run-stopping interior defensive linemen for the Chiefs, and they played like crap. The Chiefs are missing Mike Pennell more than ever right now, and they gave him up for nothing.
But the one thing I will say, though, also is the Eagles do have a good offensive line. The Eagles do have a very good offensive line, and in my opinion, the best running back in football right now.
Sure.
So I will give some a little bit. I will give that D line a little bit of grace, but even so, we lost to that team by 3 points. So you've got the D line statistically playing like garbage. The Chiefs having a horrible starting tight end as of right now. He's one of the best tight ends in NFL history, but right now he's playing bad. We've got Mahomes overthrowing players. We've got the stupidest right tackle in the entire NFL.
Second worst PFF grade, Jawan Taylor.
And yet we're still. Who was worse than Taylor?
Noah Gray actually received a worse offensive grade.
Wow. Okay. But my point still stands. The stupidest right tackle in football right now, and yet we still only lost by 3. If we just clean those up a little bit and become disciplined, we're cooking even without Rice and Worthy right now.
Yeah. I think it's also worth mentioning that for a brief time, Josh Simmons went out with an injury, and Jalen Moore, the Chiefs' offensive tackle 3, came into the game and is a top 5 PFF graded player on the team.
I don't understand why he's not playing over Jawan Taylor.
The Chiefs have a very obvious move that they need to make, and just swap them. Swap them.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Jalen Moore posted the best pass blocking grade on the team. He was better than Trey Smith, better than Simmons, and better than Taylor, and better than Creed.
That's insane.
Like, he needs to start. The Chiefs have.
I don't want to. I was going to say, I don't want to look too much at the PFF grade for that one right now, just because he didn't play the whole game.
Sure.
It's kind of like when a punter does a fake punt and then they have like a 120 QBR, and it's like, well, he didn't play the whole game. But nonetheless, though, I do stand by Jalen Moore is a better tackle than Jawan Taylor. I don't get why we're paying them both a good amount of money.
Yeah. I think the most glaring issue was per PFF, he was credited with 6 penalties.
Jeez.
You can't have that.
Yeah.
So, and that's really the thing to focus on.
I agree, but I do stand by the Chiefs. Like, in a nutshell, the Chiefs will be fine as long as they clean up a little bit of things and become a little bit more disciplined, like they know how to do. And if anyone's going to be able to get that team to do that, it's Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo.
Gotcha.
But switching over to Detroit, you guys had a good bounce back week.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody predicted this because a lot of the problems that we talked about last week, Tyler, we said they were fixable, but they were communication issues, and typically those take a couple of weeks to be corrected. From the first snap, it was clear that Detroit was not screwing around. They instantly hit Amon-Ra St. Brown on an explosive play, and they never really let up. They never were trailed in the game. They put up 52 points. They now have more 50-plus point games in the Dan Campbell era than they had in their entire history prior to Dan Campbell. They completely embarrassed Ben Johnson.
And this is a team that's been around since the 50s. This is not a 20-year-old team.
30s.
Yeah,
I mean, not that scoring was great in the 30s, but no, yeah. The Lions looked like their old selves again. They didn't allow a single sack. They only allowed, I think, 2 or 3 pressures to a good Bears defensive line. The offensive line was amazing. Jamison Williams eclipses 100 yards on 2 catches. Amon-Ra St. Brown eclipses 100 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery score a touchdown. Kirby Joseph has an interception. Aiden Hutchinson has a sack. I think everyone did the right thing.
Everyone did good.
I projected that they would bounce back, but I did not think that it would look like this. The Bears haven't allowed a 50-point game since we were infants, Tyler. It's been a long time.
And there's one other point that I want to make as well. What also didn't happen this week that did happen last week was I bet money on the Lions last week. And I did
Exactly.
not bet money on the Lions this week. So there was no gambling curse.
You called it, and that has to be the reason that the Lions responded so well. I told you last week that you're not allowed to do it again. Now you're definitely not allowed to. We have proof. But
Although I did put $5 on Philadelphia money line, so maybe the curse is broken. Maybe I'll bet on you guys next week.
Don't do that. We have the Ravens next week, and I do want to discuss that because there's only so much you can say. It was dominant. The Bears looked like crap. Caleb Williams looked like crap, and they couldn't get anything going in the second half. The Ravens are next week, and the Lions have a true test because the Packers look like world beaters right now, and the Lions understandably look like crap against them. The Commanders also did not look good. So I think it lends legitimacy to the Packers that the Lions come back and put up 50 on the Bears. But it also it kind of puts Lions analysts in a tough spot because does that mean that the Lions can just beat up on bad teams and are going to struggle against good teams? We're going to see against the Baltimore Ravens because Lamar Jackson's going to stress this defense. But I don't really have much else to say besides the fact that last week I told you not to panic, and we shouldn't be panicking anymore. I think everyone's riding high again. So let's continue to not panic and hope that we can pull off an upset because we're actually pretty significant underdogs versus the Ravens next week. So let's go into Baltimore and win a tough game and see if we can improve to 2-1.
How do we do in fantasy?
Well, I don't want to talk about
Amon-Ra had a good day.
Yes, he did, but I don't think I said anything about him, did I?
I don't think so. I mean, he would have been an obvious start. So there was nothing to really talk about with him. But he did win some leagues this week.
He absolutely did. And I always try to give you those guys that are in betweeners, they're matchup plays. And my swipe lefts last week, I'm just going to say the swipe lefts and you can make your face and you react in the way. Jared Goff.
You swiped left on Jared Goff.
Swipe left on Jared Goff. 330 yards, 5 touchdowns, no turnovers. Perfect.
And I swiped right on him. I knew that there would be a bounce back week.
You did. And J.K. Dobbins, he ended up playing okay. 14 points, a touchdown.
Okay. And then he was a swipe left for me.
And I still think that it was the right choice. He did end up getting a touchdown, which salvaged his day. And then my other swipe left was Isaiah Pacheco. Nailed it. Isaiah Pacheco was missing in action for Kansas City. So I'm going to give myself 1 for 3 on the swipe lefts, which is what I did last week. Okay. The swipe rights were.
I think you can argue 2 for 3 also.
Yeah, maybe a 1.5. Thanks, teacher. Half credit. Appreciate it. The swipe rights. I think the swipe rights I'm also going to get 1.5 points because I recommended Justin Fields. Wow, he was horrific. 7 points. The Jets were down by 30 for the vast majority of the game, and he made every mistake you could possibly make. And you told me to not bet on Justin Fields quite yet, and you were right. Maybe you should do the fantasy segment next week, Tyler. This is getting ridiculous. And then I said Emeka Egbuka, who scored a touchdown on the Monday night game. But I think he only scored about 12 or 13 points. So take that what you will. I did say he was going to be involved. He's heavily involved, enough to score a touchdown. And then I also said Hollywood Brown. He caught all 5 of his targets, but he didn't really have a huge impact on the game. Mahomes running the ball is really the only way the Chiefs can actually move down the field anymore. So maybe every single skill player for Kansas City should be off limits until they figure it out.
And I do agree with that. I think I ended up starting Hollywood Brown in one of my own leagues. He got 8 points, which came off 5 catches and 30 yards. Am I correct on that?
You are.
So I mean, he's a player that if you didn't have anybody else, he got you a little bit. He wasn't a complete bust, but I mean, certainly under that 10-point threshold isn't going to be good. I think you convinced me to swipe right on Emeka Egbuka, and What were his stats for that game?
For this Monday night game, I believe he had about 40 yards and a touchdown, so like 12, 13 points. I don't have them
Okay,
on me.
so that's pretty solid. I'd say
Yeah,
that's a win. To me, if you get more than 10 points on a sleeper wide receiver, you hit it.
I agree. And I feel like it's a win if I get you double digits in a matchup play like that.
Yes.
For
Yes.
sure. But we can move on to this week's picks, which
This week,
I
let's
really
get
hope
back on it.
I really hope they're better. We're gonna start with a guy who had a really quiet week in this past week 2 here, in a week where his team did a lot, and that's Sam Laporta. I'm gonna swipe right on Sam Laporta this week because of the matchup. Baltimore allowed Harold Fannin, the rookie tight end for the Browns, to get double-digit points. And in week 1, they allowed the Buffalo tight ends to score touchdowns. They've been good matchups for fantasy tight ends this year. I think that Sam Laporta will be a key factor in the offense because Jair Alexander and Nate Wiggins, the corners for the Ravens, are going to be able to slow down Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, leaving Laporta a guy that should get open.
I've got nothing really to add to that. Sam Laporta's, in my opinion, a top 3 tight end in the NFL right now. I love Sam Laporta. He's my biggest probably reach that I've had in fantasy football. I'm a big fan of Sam Laporta. I'm swiping right every time.
Sure, he only had
He had a
very
bad week 1.
bad. Well, he had an okay week 1 and a almost a MIA week 2. 3 catches, 26 yards against Chicago in a week that they put up 52 points. That doesn't make you
But look
feel.
at what Amon-Ra did, though. Amon-Ra got absolutely everything last week. That's not going to be the case every week. He's not going to get everything every week. I'm sticking with Sam Laporta. I'm
Right.
evaluating every week, but I'm sticking with Sam Laporta.
And I agree with you there. And so we're going to move on to another player from this matchup that I'm curious your thoughts on. Is Derrick Henry. I'll let you go first.
Derrick Henry went MIA in week 2.
That's right.
Derrick Henry playing against the Lions. If he was playing anyone but the Lions, I would say he's gonna have a bounce back week. It's a fluke outlier week. The Lions have a really good rushing defense. The Lions statistically shut down really good running backs. They might do a little bit worse against like mediocre running backs, weirdly enough. That's how the Chiefs are too. But against superstar running backs, they prepare for them and then they stop them. I would start Derrick Henry in general, but he's not going to get the numbers he's projected, in my opinion. But if
I
he's
agree.
your RB1, I'd stick him in the starting lineup, but not blindly.
In my opinion, he's going to be a touchdown dependent option because the Lions, not only are they good tackling, but they're really disciplined in run defense. The thing about the Lions, like if I were a fan on the outside, I'm like, why are the Lions so good at stopping the run? Like, what makes them so special? And it's the fact that they stay in their base defense like 45% more than other NFL teams. And what that means is a lot of teams will move into a nickel package where they add an extra defensive back to improve their coverage. The Lions don't do this at a rate that NFL teams do. Kelvin Shepard and Aaron Glenn, by extension, tend to stay in base to keep themselves disciplined and run stopping all of the time. It makes teams one-dimensional. It forces them to throw at their all-pro safety in Kirby Joseph, who had a pick last week. It works. That's what the Lions do. It's their scheme. And so that's why I feel like if they're disciplined in the run game, they stay in their beast defense, and they tackle well like they always do, Lamar Jackson has a chance to go nuts on this secondary. But I do think that they're going to key in and stop Derrick Henry.
If I'm talking about just is he going to do super well, I'm a swipe left. Am I talking about should you play him still? I'm going to swipe right.
Okay.
And audience, you can do that. You can do with that analysis what you want to.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they do because I do think Derrick Henry is the best running back they've faced in a while. Another player, and this is actually a 2-for-1 special, Tyler. This one is Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown together.
Swipe left. Swipe left. Those are 2 of the best wide receivers in the NFC. The problem is Jalen Hurts doesn't know they exist. Swipe left. Next
Yes.
question.
And their match,
For me,
to be
anyway.
fair, their matchup is against the Rams, which I do think is a good defense. I think it's a skilled secondary. And man, that passing offense looks completely ineffective for the Eagles. They win games by continuing to put themselves in short yarded situations and then cheat on 3rd and 4th down. So they are not an explosive play threat at all in the passing game. Jalen Hurts had 100 yards in the win against Kansas City. Do not expect either Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown to have any major explosive plays or volume. 2 things you need for a good fantasy week. They should be swipe lefts until this new offensive coordinator for Philly proves that he can actually get his stars the ball. Kind of similar to what you said.
Weirdly enough, I do expect one explosive play where one receiver is going to get like 7 points off one catch, but ultimately swipe left.
Funnily enough,
they're not going to do consistently. They're not going to do good.
Funnily enough, in week 1, that was Jahan Dotson, the receiver 3 for the Eagles. He caught that 50-yarder against the Cowboys. Yep. And then the one explosive against Kansas City was that weird Devontae Smith play with McDuffie that honestly should never have happened. So swipe left.
So there's going to be one play where some receiver does good, but I do not trust the Philadelphia I do not trust the Philadelphia wide receivers from a fantasy football perspective.
Gotcha. Okay. And so the next player I want to talk about is Rome Odunze. What do you think?
How did he do the first couple weeks?
He has 3 touchdowns on the season. He had 31 fantasy points last week against Detroit. He was really the only offensive player that did anything. And in the first week, he scored a touchdown late in the game for the Bears against the Minnesota Vikings. So his stats are 8. He has 8 targets in week 1, 10 targets in week 2, 6 catches. So 13 total catches, 165 yards, 3 touchdowns through 2 weeks. Very, very good.
Yeah, and the Bears, remind me who the Bears are playing this week.
Dallas.
They're playing Dallas?
They just let up 37 points to Russell Wilson and the Giants.
Yeah, I'm swiping right. Right now, that was a divisional matchup, so I'll take that as a little bit of an outlier. But ultimately, though, I'm a swipe right for Rome Odunze. I think 2 good weeks against the Lions secondary, that's pretty good. And having 3 touchdowns against 3 total touchdowns against 2 good defenses, I think shows what Rome Odunze is really shaping up to be. So, yeah, I think he's a swipe right for me, especially since there's not a lot of other options for Caleb Williams to go with.
Right. He's been a target monster. He's shown great chemistry, and he's made a lot of plays after the catch. So I'm also swipe right on Rome Odunze. I drafted him in 3
weeks. He's getting a lot of targets as well. That's something that I pay attention to.
Yeah, he's got the volume. He's got the red zone work. 2 of his touchdowns have been red zone schemed up plays for him specifically. That's a great sign that Ben Johnson values him and wants him to score. So you should take that as a sign to must start him until really proven otherwise. And so the next player on our list is Zach Ertz, tight end for the Commanders, and he's playing the Las Vegas Raiders.
I'm going to swipe left.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, for context, his stats this season are 12 targets, 9 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 90 yards. He has double-digit points in each of his games.
All of that's coming from the touchdowns. It sounds like, I've been working the NFL games at Arrowhead, so I haven't gotten to watch a lot of football, unfortunately. So I have to solely rely on stats. But it sounds like he's getting a lot of red zone attention, which is why he's got touchdowns but not a lot of yards. And so if you find a defense that can just stop him in said red zone, you're taking away 6 of those double-digit points, giving him pretty bust-like numbers. Right. Now, he is getting the touchdowns. I will give him credit. I'm not going to play hypothetical of, well, what if he doesn't? But I don't expect him to have 1 to 2 touchdowns every single game.
Right.
So to me, he's a swipe left.
And I'm going to agree with you here on this one. And I'm going to provide some important context. because I know you weren't able to watch this one. I had the unfortunate displeasure of watching the Commanders play the Packers on Thursday Night Football, and that Zach Ertz touchdown in that game came in garbage time in the fourth quarter when they're down 3 scores. It's not sustainable. Zach Ertz is extremely touchdown dependent. We were just talking about Rome Odunze and his volume. He does not have the volume, in my opinion. In the win against the Giants, he had only 3 catches for 26 yards. Without the touchdown, he's completely useless. So, in my opinion, it's a swipe left versus the Raiders, who have proven to have a good defense. And Pete Carroll, he's always had good defenses. He's great at training his secondary, shutting down the pass game. Don't sleep on the Vegas Raiders as a defensive matchup nightmare a little bit for passing offenses. Swipe left on Zach Ertz. And now our final player is Tony Pollard versus Indianapolis.
Tony Pollard seems like a guy that's going to be hit or miss from week to week. You said he's playing who?
He's playing Indy.
He's playing Indianapolis. So this is going to be I'm looking at my schedule now as well. He's playing at home, which I think Tony Pollard's a guy that in his career does better at home. But ultimately, I don't like the Titans offense just in general. Like, I know they played well last week. I don't like struggling offenses, even if they've got a superstar player. But I'm gonna swipe left here.
Okay, interesting. And that might be a safer option. I'm kind of taking a risk and going out on a limb for Tony Pollard this week when I say swipe right. And I'm going to give you the reasons why. And I'll see if it changes your thoughts on this at all. Okay. Denver, he played Denver in week 1. And he had 60 yards, no touchdowns, and 29 yards through the air. So about 9 points, sub 10, right? Single digits. Played LA week 2, 20 attempts, 92 yards, no catches. Okay, so that's another 9-point game, sub 10, right? So he has not scored double digits yet this season, but his volume in each of those games, 18 attempts and 20 attempts. That's encouraging volume. And for a guy who's still got speed to be explosive, and he's facing Indianapolis, a team that I think the Colts should be able to run against. I mean, the Colts have lost. The Titans have lost their first 2 games, and they still were able to get their running backs nearly 20 carries. They're starting running back 20 carries. Tony Pollard has the volume, and if he gets a touchdown in one of those games, it's a 16, 17-point performance. And I think against the Colts, he's got a real chance to do that here in week 3. So,
and this is where
trust the volume.
You know, maybe it's one of those weeks where he does pop off. Consistently, I don't like Tony Pollard, but with the matchup, maybe he is a swipe right for you. To me, I will take consistently good over occasionally great. So that's why he's a swipe left for me still.
Gotcha. And that's fair. I look at a similar team, in my opinion. The Colts played the Broncos. Broncos scored 28, and the running backs were pretty good on the ground versus Indy. Like I said, J.K. Dobbins scored 14 points last week. I think we can expect similar production out of Tony Pollard. So I'm going to swipe right on Tony Pollard, but I understand your perspective. I'm definitely going out on a limb for this one. This was like a guy that you could consider benching if you have someone better in like a 10 or an 8-man league. But I really like him in this matchup. But that's it. That's all my fantasy picks. So hopefully I do better this week.
Hopefully as well. As we finish up the time, let's get into my must-watch games of the week. Two of my top 3 are non-primetime games, so definitely something to look an eye out. Check your coverage area to see what games you have. But if you've got these games, these are games that I would watch over others. The first one is Rams at Eagles. This is a playoff rematch. I think the Eagles are beatable when you get a team that can punch them in the face, and I think the Rams can be a team that's willing to punch someone in the face if you let them. I anticipate this being a really good matchup. It is in Philly. I do expect the Eagles to win this game, but I think the Rams are going to give them a good fight, something that I'd watch out for. I also really like the Chargers and the Broncos matchup. This is another AFC West rivalry. I think the AFC West is going to end up being one of the most competitive division in football. You've got Bo Nix versus Justin Herbert. You've got Sean Payton versus Jim Harbaugh. I think it's going to be a great coaching battle, a great quarterback battle, and I think a pretty solid defensive battle. And when it's a rivalry game, absolutely anything can happen. And then my number 3 must-watch game of the week is Monday Night Football, is Lions at Ravens. This is going to be a shootout, in my opinion. This is going to be exciting football. There's a reason they scheduled this for Mondays instead of Thursdays. This is going to be a high performance on offensive superstars, and it's going to come down to which defense can step up at crucial moments.
Lions are 3 for 3 on making the big games of the week.
They
What
are.
can I say? But great games. I like all 3 choices that you got there. I'm certainly going to be tuning into those 3. But that is all we have for you guys for the week 2 recap. Tyler, are you going to post your day in the life of a Chiefs employee this week as well? Do we have the viewers to look out for that?
I will be. Stay on the lookout for that. With my job at Arrowhead, it's a lot of exciting stuff. I get a lot of questions as to what exactly I do. So I will be coming up with a video on our YouTube and TikTok channels. So make sure you are following to see what is it that I do when I go to Arrowhead.
Love that. I'm sure all those day in the life stuff, I love them. You're so good at them. I can't wait to watch it as someone who was not at that game. But make sure you're tuning in, following us on TikTok, and appreciate you for watching. We'll see you week 3.
Appreciate you guys.